In 1989, a woman checked into a hotel under a fake name, locked herself in room 2805, and was found dead days later. But here's what makes no sense. Forensics confirmed she shot herself, yet both her hands were found positioned neatly at her sides. That's physically impossible. And that's just one of the 3 stories you're about to hear. Real events that investigators, scientists, and experts still cannot explain to this day. November 29th, 1970. 2 professors are hiking through the Isdalen Valley in Norway when they stumble upon something that would haunt Norwegian investigators for over 50 years. Partially hidden behind some rocks, they find the burned remains of a woman's body. Now, at first, this might seem like a tragic but straightforward case. But as police begin investigating, nothing about this woman makes any sense. The autopsy reveals she died from a combination of carbon monoxide poisoning and burns. 50 to 70 sleeping pills were found in her system, a lethal dose. So initially, it looks like suicide. She took the pills, then set herself on fire. But then the details start getting strange. Her fingerprints and face had been burned off. Not from the fire, deliberately removed. Her dental work showed she'd had extensive procedures done, but in a style that didn't match any known dental practices in Scandinavia. The labels had been cut out of all her clothing, every single one. Police find her belongings scattered in the area, 2 plastic bottles that had contained gasoline, an umbrella, some jewelry. And here's where it gets disturbing. They find a tube of eczema cream called Phenomol, which wasn't available in Norway. It was only sold in certain parts of Germany and other European countries. Investigators track her movements backward. She had stayed at several hotels in the weeks before her death, always checking in with fake names, always paying cash. At each hotel, she used a different identity, a different signature, different handwriting styles. They find her suitcases at a train station in Bergen. Inside, more clothes with the labels removed, wigs, fake glasses, and a cryptic handwritten code that investigators still haven't fully deciphered. The code appeared to list dates and locations across Europe. Witnesses reported seeing her with multiple different men in the days before her death. She spoke several languages fluently. She changed her appearance constantly. So who was she? Some investigators believe she was a spy. The removed labels, the fake identities, the coded notes, the mysterious men. It fits the profile of Cold War espionage. Maybe she knew too much and was eliminated, or maybe she was burned by her own agency. But others point to the massive amount of sleeping pills. Why would an assassin need to drug someone before burning them alive? And if she was murdered, how did no one see anything in such a remote location? The suicide theory has problems too. If she willingly took lethal sleeping pills, why also set herself on fire? And why go through the elaborate process of removing all identifying information first? In 2016, Norwegian authorities exhumed her body for DNA and isotope testing. The isotope analysis showed she likely grew up in Central Europe, possibly Germany or France, and had spent time in different regions throughout her life. But her DNA matched no one in any database. No missing person report ever matched her description. No family ever came forward. To this day, over 50 years later, no one knows who the Isdal woman was, why she died, or what she was doing in that valley. Her identity remains one of the greatest mysteries in Norwegian criminal history. February 2nd, 1959. 9 experienced hikers set up camp on the slopes of Kholat-Syakhl Mountain in the Soviet Union's Ural Mountains. They were young, skilled outdoors people led by Igor Dyatlov, all aiming to reach a mountain peak about 6 miles away. They never made it. 3 weeks later, search teams found their tent, and what they discovered inside that tent has baffled investigators for over 60 years. The tent had been cut open from the inside. Not from the outside, from the inside. Long, deliberate slashes, as if the experienced hikers had frantically tried to escape something. But here's the thing. The tent was still properly secured, food was laid out, their boots and coats were still inside. Whatever made them run so desperately that 9 experienced hikers fled into the freezing Siberian wilderness in their socks. In -20 to -30 degree temperatures, the first 2 bodies were found near the tree line, about a mile from the tent. They were barefoot, dressed only in underwear. Branches on a nearby cedar tree were broken up to 15 feet high, suggesting someone had frantically climbed it. Skin from their hands was found on the bark. 3 more bodies, including Dyatlov himself, were found in the snow between the cedar tree and the tent. They appeared to have been trying to make it back. They had died from hypothermia. The investigation might have closed there, a tragic case of hikers who panicked for some unknown reason and froze to death. But then, 2 months later, they found the other 4 bodies. These bodies were found in a ravine, under 13 feet of snow. And this is where the case becomes truly unexplainable. One victim had major skull damage, another had severe chest trauma. Her ribs were broken so badly that the medical examiner compared the force to a high-speed car crash. A third was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips. A fourth had similar facial injuries. But here's what makes no sense. There were no external wounds, no cuts, no bruises on the skin. The force that caused these injuries came from inside their bodies, or from a pressure so extreme it fractured bones without breaking skin. The medical examiner stated the injuries could not have been caused by another human being because the force required was too great. Some of the victims' clothes were found to be radioactive, not extremely so, but above normal background levels. The final government report concluded that the hikers died from a compelling natural force that they were unable to overcome. That was it. No explanation of what that force was. So what happened on that mountain? Avalanche is the most common theory, but experienced avalanche investigators who've studied the site say the slope wasn't steep enough and the snow pattern was wrong. Plus, the tent was still standing and relatively undamaged. Some point to a rare atmospheric phenomenon called infrasound, where wind across the mountain creates frequencies that cause extreme panic and anxiety in humans. But why would it affect all 9 people simultaneously? And why would they cut their way out of the tent instead of just opening it? Military weapons testing has been suggested. The area was relatively close to military installations, and that might explain the radioactivity. But no evidence of testing that night has ever been found. The missing tongue and eyes could be explained by natural decomposition or scavenging animals, since those bodies were found 2 months later. But what about the massive internal injuries with no external trauma? In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case. In 2020, they officially concluded it was an avalanche. But scientists and investigators who've studied the incident for decades disagree. The physical evidence simply doesn't support it. Whatever happened on that mountain, something made 9 experienced hikers so terrified that they chose certain death in the freezing wilderness over staying in their tent. Something caused injuries that medical examiners say are impossible from human force. And 65 years later, we still don't know what. December 1st, 1948. Early morning on Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia. Beachgoers notice a well-dressed man lying against a seawall. He's wearing a suit and tie. His legs are crossed. His head is resting on the wall. He looks like he's sleeping, but he's not sleeping. He's dead. And his case would become one of the most perplexing mysteries in Australian history. The autopsy revealed he was about 40 to 45 years old, in excellent physical condition. His organs showed signs of congestion, and there was blood in his stomach, suggesting poisoning. But they couldn't identify the poison. Every test came back negative. His pockets contained a used bus ticket, an unused train ticket, some gum, and cigarettes. Normal items. But here's what was strange. Every label had been removed from his clothing. His jacket, his shirt, his pants, every single label had been carefully cut out. There was no wallet, no identification. No one reported him missing. Police circulated his photograph and fingerprints throughout Australia and internationally. No match. No one recognized him. His dental records matched no known records anywhere. Then investigators found something, a secret pocket sewn into his pants that they'd initially missed. Inside was a small piece of paper with 2 words printed on it, Tamam Shud. The phrase is Persian, meaning ended or finished. Police eventually traced it to a specific page in a book called the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The paper had been torn from the final page of the book. Months later, a man came forward claiming he'd found a copy of that exact edition of the Rubaiyat in his car, thrown through his unlocked window around the time of the death. The final page was missing, torn out. And on the back of the book, someone had written 5 lines of letters in pencil. A code, MRGOABD, MTB Impinet P, MLIABAQC, ITMT STGAB. Below the code was a phone number. The phone number belonged to a nurse named Jessica Thompson, who lived near Somerton Beach. When police showed her a plaster cast of the dead man's face, witnesses said she looked like she was about to faint. She denied knowing him, but investigators didn't believe her. Her behavior suggested she knew exactly who he was. The code has never been cracked. Professional cryptographers, intelligence agencies, and amateur sleuths have tried for 75 years. No one has solved it. So who was this man? The removed labels, the code, the mysterious book, many believe he was a spy. 1948 was the height of Cold War tension. Australia was strategically important. The elaborate code and hidden pocket suggest espionage. But then there's Jessica Thompson. Some investigators believe this was actually a personal tragedy, a forbidden love affair, possibly involving a child. Jessica had a son born around the time she might have known the Somerton man, and later investigators noted the son bore a striking physical resemblance to the dead man, including a rare genetic condition affecting the teeth. The poison angle is strange too. The autopsy clearly indicated poisoning, but no poison was found. This suggests either a very sophisticated, untraceable poison, something a spy might use, or a natural toxin that broke down before testing. In 2021, Australian authorities finally approved exhumation for DNA testing. The body was exhumed in 2022. In 2023, an investigator claimed the man was Charles Webb, an electrical engineer from Melbourne. But the evidence remains disputed, and many researchers reject this identification. Here's what we know for certain. A man died on a beach in 1948 with no identification, labels removed from his clothes, a cryptic note in his pocket, a coded message in a book, and poison in his system that couldn't be identified. A woman who likely knew him refused to reveal his identity. And 75 years later, we still can't definitively say who he was. Some mysteries haunt us because they're frightening. This one haunts us because someone out there knew the answer and chose to take it to their grave. 3 cases, 3 deaths, decades of investigation by some of the world's best forensic experts, detectives, and scientists, and not one solid answer. The Isdal woman with her burned fingerprints and fake identities, the Dyatlov hikers who fled their tent into certain death, the Somerton man with his code and his secrets. These aren't urban legends or creepypastas. These are real people who died under circumstances that still make no logical sense. And somewhere out there, the truth exists. Someone knows what happened. The evidence is real. The bodies were real. We just haven't figured it out yet. If you found these cases as fascinating and disturbing as I do, let me know in the comments which one unsettles you the most. And if you know of other unexplained cases like these, share them. They might end up in the next video. Until then, sleep well, if you can.